Well, tonight's a jump ball, Andrew. If we don't know, it's a Republican district, as you point out, but the momentum seems to be with the Democrat. But the final outcome really doesn't matter except for the addition of one seat possibly for the Democrats. The real importance here is that this is just more evidence of a growing tide for the Democrats in special elections across the country. We've picked up about 40 state legislative seats, and so the real question is just how big a magnitude the wave is going to be come November.
And when you say, by the way, the other side would have a very different take on what's happening here. There's a number of scenarios, possibly including this one, that you might describe as idiosyncratic. No?
Sure. And Alabama was a one-off in the Senate race. I mean, anytime you nominate an alleged pedophile, you're probably going to underperform. But my point is, this is just, you cut through all the spin, and I'm trying to play it right down the middle of the fairway here. The Republicans are going to extraordinary lengths to win a seat that has been theirs for 30 years. That's just objective reality. That tells you they're kind of running uphill a little bit.
Not to push past November, but I would like to just for a second, which is, it feels like the Democratic Party is now split in two, at minimum two, if not into three different pieces. A true far-left, socialistic, very progressive party. There might be some that are a little bit more in the middle, and then there's sort of a middle ground where you might even put yourself. Where do you think the party really is going to be?
Well, that's a great question, Andrew. We won't know until after the election. My guess is that most of the base is a little bit further to the left. But when you look at that middle of America, those swing voters, the independents who really don't owe core allegiance to either party and are just looking for good government, they tend to be more pragmatic and more toward the middle. And so my hope is that the takeaway for both parties in November will be, if you want to govern for the longer term, you really need to put some of the extremism and the ideology to the side and start delivering results for the American people.
Do you think the economic strength lasts until November and has a big impact on the midterms?
Well, that's a great question. The answer is yes. I think it's going to last at least another 3 or 4 months. And that is one of the things, Andrew, to your point, if we had a Republican sitting here making their argument, they'd say, look, the economy is great. That tends to be people's top issue. The second issue tends to be national security and fighting terrorism. The president's numbers on that score are fairly high. And midterm elections, the turnout tends to be smaller. And so that means it tends to be wealthier, older, and whiter. All those things tend to favor the Republicans. But to get to your point, yes, the economy will be good through November, but will it be good for the next 2.5 years? Was this stimulus a one-off that will just extend the aging recovery that we've had, only to then go back to 2%, 1.5% growth?